We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 182, sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code WeSayThings for 20% off and free shipping. And I believe you may have something to say.
Yes. So they sent us these kits, as they generally do when they launch something new, and I tried out this beard hedger, and it's really good. So that was I just wanted to say that. I was very pleasantly surprised, not because I was expecting it to be bad, but because it made me realize just how much better it was than the one I already had from some years ago. It was definitely a clear upgrade for me.
Have you used the beard oil yet?
I have not. I'll be honest, I don't really use those products. I don't know if you do. I don't really have enough of a beard to really be the target group, I think.
I haven't used it yet because I want to do by research, I mean, like literally Google something. Mm-hmm. I have horrible beard dandruff. Horrible. Okay. I used to have dandruff in my hair normally, like 10 years ago, and I fixed it by just not using shampoo all the time. And now I'm using conditioner every time I shower, and I shampoo every other day or whatever. And it's fixed everything. The beard, however, not so much. So I'm interested to try their beard oil. They have beard shampoo as well. And I do nothing with my beard pretty much. When it gets to it, it gets disgusting. That's when I finally trim it. So that's why I haven't used the product yet. And it's not quite disgusting yet. I have probably another 2 weeks to go. But I'll let you know when that comes.
Keep it up.
Yeah. Thank you to our beautiful patrons. Go ahead, Cinderin.
Okay, I just needed to load them up. Here we go. Charlie Cheen. T-Coil. Infinite Tiebreakers would have been more fun. We'll get to that. Burrito Mac Burrito Face. TI in Auckland. Q Ludes thing reminds you to praise the podcast. Stupid Copilot. D2 Bowie. Yatoro does it again, Cinderin. You haven't changed your name in like a year. What does he do again? I personally love the Stooges. An ad. Oscar Magdev Seeker wants to see drastic map changes in this coming patch, maybe a crater. My grandma still doesn't know what Dota is. Disco Farm D. Taste Me Boo. Stooge McStooge. Daddy Stood. Notice Me Senpai Stooge. Santa's Ballsack Stooge. Schadenfreude Stooge. The Mega Pope. You inanimate objects hitting the Canadians again. TI in New Zealand. And San Xavier.
Okay, the inanimate objects one. This guy shamed us in our Discord with the rest of the In Bruges tier. I was right about the inanimate objects being a part of In Bruges. The hitting the Canadians again is also from the movie. I just didn't remember because he combined them and they're not the same scene at all. Okay, so I'm going to put that on you. Different scenes.
Okay. That's my bad.
No, not you, the guy who wrote it. But sure, Cinderin as well, because he only watched the movie once.
My bad, guys.
Also, thank you to Nate Thicko01 Hamscroats, Bacon, Shark TM, Freshly Seasoned Goat Balls, Janie, Dop, Nothing to See Here, _man, Guitar Strings, Eve Remort. Ben, what do you think? They'll announce dates and location for TI. I'm trying to go this year. Broomhead with an aftertaste, Anonymous. And the brain is active throughout. And the idea that we only use 10% of it is a myth, Mr. Niebling.
Oh, shit. So that movie I watched was fake.
What movie?
How's it called? It's the one with Scarlett Johansson that activates her whole brain and gets like superpowers.
Is it the one with the pill?
She sniffs this blue powder or something and goes insane.
I remember a movie.
Mad mode. She can like telekinesis stuff and shit. What's it called? Lucy. That's right.
Oh, I was thinking of what's it? Oh, chat's saying as well.
I just made a movie reference. I just realized.
Yeah, good job.
Holy shit.
How have you seen Lucy, but not Indiana Jones? Okay, we're not going to get into this again.
I have also seen that Indiana Jones, Shannon. We already talked about it last time. I just wasn't sure.
If you're not sure, you didn't watch it enough, okay?
Okay.
Let us begin this episode by wrapping up the DPC for every region except for China, which still has 2 days left as
But
of now.
before that, I feel like we should answer Ben Broomhead about when we think they'll announce the dates and location for TI. I'll go first. I have no clue. Your turn.
Does that mean we're supposed to guess?
I don't know. Do you want to guess?
Second major, they'll announce it.
Okay. For me, April 26th.
Okay. Wait, when's the second
Imagine if I
major?
hit it.
When's the second major?
It's in May, right? I think.
Oh,
May. It's from May till June, if I remember correctly. Let me check.
okay.
DPC schedule 2023. Second major is it's April 28 until May 7. So April 26 could be close actually.
Mm.
And you said second major.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, there's a bigger chance you're right than me now. Oh well, what can you do?
All right. Let's talk about the DPC.
Yep.
I'm going to do my thing again.
Okay. We start with Western Europe and
That's
then
right.
we go right on Liquipedia.
That's
Very
right.
good. Thank you, Liquipedia, for always having an amazing overview of everything that's happening in Dota. That was not sarcastic, even though it sounded like that.
Thank you so much, Liquipedia. My goodness, you're great.
Okay, so I think we should try to remember our predictions. I don't remember order, but I pretty much remember who we predicted to go where. So Europe took an extra while because they had to do 3 rounds of tiebreakers.
2 days.
Which were played over 2 days from January 30th to 31st, so Monday to Tuesday this week. And it was a 3-way tie between Entity, OG, and Tundra to find the final 2 slots going to the major out of 4. All 3 teams had a 4-3 scoreline. And the first 2 rounds of tiebreakers, Tundra beat OG, Entity beat Tundra, and then OG beat Entity, and then forced another round, and then it happened again. And then in the 3rd round, Tundra did the impossible by beating Entity after they beat OG for the 17th time in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And that meant Tundra were qualified. And then in the final game, OG did the impossible and lost to Entity. So OG aren't going at all. And Entity take the 4th slot, which I'll say this much. I really sympathize with the team that isn't going because I can tell you something like this is extremely stressful. There's so much on the line in so few games. You play these rounds over and over. And then finally, in the end, you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So that fucking sucks. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a cynic, you should have just won another game earlier in the season, and you wouldn't have had to do all this.
Bitch.
You know? Yeah, I mean, that's the state of things. OG had their chances to avoid this entirely, and they didn't.
It's just so hard. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the top right now, but the second place TI team changed 1 player.
Yep.
And now they're Div 2. That's in fucking sane, man. That is so ridiculous.
Yep.
And there's rumors now for Secret that they're trying to recruit Ramses. What do you think about that? If there's any, I mean, obviously we don't know whether that's true or not, but do you think that would be a fit? And what would his position be? Would he go back to mid finally? So
the last thing in terms of rumors with Secret, like you said, they ended the season in last place. They got 1-6, tied for last with Into the Breach, so they will be relegated. The latest rumor I've heard is Ramses will go to carry, and they'll get Malreen on mid. Both players are Eastern European. And I believe Puppy speaks either fluent Russian or pretty much close to, being an Estonian. And he has obviously played with Eastern European teams in the past, like Navi. So if that is the case, then it's kind of a return to the old days for him, basically. Old days of Dota 2.
I'll say this. You're talking about... Well, Ramsey speaks some English, right? Doesn't he?
Ramses? Yeah, for sure. His English is pretty good.
Okay, I was going to say that Rezo and Zayats can also speak Russian, so...
it might be... There's multiple reasons that this could be happening. I don't know if it is true, but let's say it is happening. Sometimes it can be empowering for a team to be more on the same level in terms of, like, culture or whatnot. either culture or just overall feeling more at home in the team. It's always going to be something different if you're not as strong or as comfortable in a language or in that means of communication or whatever. And maybe that is something Puppy is thinking about with how this team is going. I don't know, but that could be a factor in the decisions. The other one is obviously if your team just isn't working out and you're not seeing any sort of solution that you can find with your players, you look at what the other options are, and maybe this time the stars just align for that kind of solution where if there were amazing Western European players, they might have still kept an international team. But we'll see what happens with this. I'm assuming, I don't remember when Div 2 starts.
Soon.
I can look this up.
Div 2 begins on February 1st, which was yesterday.
Well, that's this season, Div 2. So the next one, right?
Oh, you mean when
that's the one they
Secret
get
will
relegated
play.
to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
That is probably in, I want to say a month and a bit. Yeah, it's probably a month and a half, actually. Oh, it's in more. Wait. It's in 2 months. So that's a lot of time.
Do you think that this is, I mean, how often do we see roster shuffles after a major? I mean, a decent amount. So they might be better to wait and see if you can pick people up as well if you're not liking the options at the moment.
Yeah, the other side of it, though, is if you do wait for that, the players that you are interested in now might have gone to different teams, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
but they do
kind
have
of a
leg
gamble
up
to be that slow. Yeah.
They have a leg up in that scenario because it is Secret, pretty big org, and it's Puppy.
For sure. Yep.
Who has yet to miss a TI.
So in summary, I guess we should also mention that Nigma recovered, which is good news for them and their fans, obviously. They had an atrocious start to the season, but they do end it 2-5, so they climb above the cutoff point and they stay in Div 1. OG we already mentioned, and the 4 teams going to the major from Europe will be Liquid with a 7-0 scoreline, completely blowing things out of the water this season, just amazing. Gaming Gladiators with 5-2, and then Tundra Entity with 4-3. So if I remember correctly for our predictions, I think we both predicted Liquid and Tundra. And then I predicted, I think, Entity and Secret. So I was very wrong about Secret, but I got Entity on the tiebreaker. I don't remember if you picked Game and Gladiators. You might have actually done that.
I might have.
I think you took Liquid, Game, and Tundra +1, and the +1 was probably OG.
I think it was OG. I don't remember. I don't think I took Secret, but
So you didn't take Secret to get top 4.
I didn't put Secret to go to Div 2, that's for sure.
Yeah. That is out of all of this, that is probably the biggest surprise in the division.
Yep.
Okay, that's Western Europe wrapped up. Let's go to Eastern Europe, which is also wrapped up now. So, in a not very big surprise, BetBoom 7-0, looking amazing as well. Kind of the Eastern European counterpart to Team Liquid in pacing and laning strength, all of it. They're just a really strong team. They beat out Team Spirit in the heads up. They were both 6-0 facing each other. They win 2-1. And then finally, Hellraisers with a 5-2 scoreline will get third. I think this might actually be the exact teams we predicted here. Or did we pick Navi? I'm trying to remember.
I feel like
I don't
one
think
of
we
us
picked Navi.
I feel like one of us picked Darkside.
Did we?
I don't think I picked Hellraisers. Maybe I did. Who knows? Why do we even do predictions if we don't?
Well, I definitely think we picked BetBoom and Spirit. So
oh yeah, those two were.
Let's say we got 2.5 out of 3, and we don't remember if we picked Hellraisers. We should have probably written it down.
I feel like I picked. I feel like I picked. No. I definitely did not pick Darkside because I said that Ramses and Seneko would not work together. I remember that vividly.
Yeah. Relegators in this division will be Nemiga and Navi, both with a 1-6 score. They get relegated. So, all right. Let's move on to China, which is still ongoing right now. I believe there's games live currently, even. So Aster 6-0, they're locked in together with Knights and LGD on 5-1. Obviously, those scores aren't finished because they will each play 7 games, but mathematically they're in because the following teams are 3-3, which is eHome and Extreme Gaming, and then Invictus are 2-4. Aster Aries 0-6 and Dawn Gaming 0-6 with 0 games won. They are out of their depth in this division. Dawn have just looked like clearly the weakest team in the region. So not surprising. But yeah, the series that are ongoing right now, what's either going to happen is we'll have a tiebreaker for fourth, because eHome and Extreme Gaming are not playing each other, so they could both get 4 and 3. They could both get 3 and 4, and IG could also get 3 and 4 if they beat Extreme Gaming. And then if eHome loses, it's a three-way tie. So most likely, with how things are looking and the matchups coming up, I think there will be a tie here. Probably, actually, yeah, maybe a two-way tie. eHome won the first game against Knights, which is going on right now. If they win the second one, then Extreme can force a tiebreaker by beating Invictus later today. So that's exciting. Our predictions, we definitely had Aster and LGD. I'm sure about that. And I'm sure we did not have Knights. So
correct.
I believe out of the remaining ones, we definitely had Extreme. And then I don't know who we picked for the fourth slot, if it was eHome or IG.
I definitely picked IG.
Okay.
And
yeah, I might
team,
have as well.
No idea.
I feel like we fully agreed in this division, actually. Yeah, probably. All right.
I can't wait for the Academy Awards so we can just completely not remember what we predicted for that as well.
I wrote those down.
Oh,
I have
okay.
them in a document.
Oh, that's good.
Because you told me to, and I listen when you talk. Because I'm a good friend, and we never fight. All right. Southeast Asia is also complete, and in a very surprising run out here. I don't remember if this was already locked in the last episode. I think it was. Fnatic and Boom, bottom 2.
Yeah.
So Division 2s in SEA and in Europe are going to be spicy next season. Top 3, Execration, Geek Slate, and Talon. Blacklist International lose the tiebreaker for third. They started the season 4-0, I think, and ended 4-3. So quite the fall from grace there. Or maybe it was only 3-0, but they were looking like they were going to be going, and now not the case. So biggest positive surprise for sure, Execration 6-1. That's not what any of us was expecting. And I don't know. I think our predictions in this region are just complete shit. I think we picked Blacklist, Boom, and Fnatic or something. I think we got 0 out of 3.
Is that possible?
I'm pretty convinced we did. Yeah, we definitely didn't pick Execration or Geek Slate, and I don't think either of us picked Talon to get top 3. So
Talon, I may have, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we had 1 out of 3.
Very
good.
Okay, well done. That's why we get paid the big bucks.
Onward to NA. Let's see how much we can speedrun this. Wow, what a shocker. TSM, Shopify 1 and 2. Bottom 2, Theoth and Alpha. And then Bait Survive. We talked about that last week. They would have to win out, and they did, because they had the 2 weakest opponents in the end, and they 2-0'd both of them.
Yay!
So they stay in Div 1. Good for our boy Dendy. Let's see what the next season holds for them, what their plans are playing in NA. But yeah, TSM Shopify was the one to watch for the top of the board, and TSM won that series against Shopify. Kind of crushed them, I think. Like, all things considered, they beat them 2-0. Shopify did let them have Lena Treant both games, though, so that's a little bit.
I mean, I'm not saying... Okay,
felt like
TSM has been a big surprise. I did not think they were going to do this well. I'll be perfectly honest. These matchups at the end of the season, when they literally do not matter, I don't take any stock into what happened at all. I don't know how you feel. Like, it literally doesn't matter. Like, even if the players are trying, like, in the back of their head, they know it doesn't matter. So they're not... Like, it's almost impossible to give it 100% in that case, I feel like.
I think when you're guaranteed top 2, and all that matters is what group you get placed into, which at the end of the day will be marginal if even matter, what seeding you have, you treat this last series as a learning experience where I think from Shopify's perspective, you gave away Lena Treant twice. I think they were trying ideas that they had for beating Lena in a really competitive match, and those ideas didn't work. That's my take on it. But that's not to diminish TSM's win. I'm not saying, Shopify Rebellion weren't really trying, or they definitely would have won. Like, TSM also stepped up and played a good series. But
I think they're both in the same position.
Same for both. Exactly. It's the same for both.
Chat is bringing up a good point that there are more DPC points for first versus second.
Yes, but
I feel like when you're in NA, especially from Shopify Rebellion standpoint, you know you're going to get the points just because you're in this region.
I don't think either of these teams will struggle to get to TI. That's my personal opinion on it. I mean, it's possible. I think, okay, with that angle, there's probably more to gain for TSM than Shopify. So
a little bit.
if you want to think of it that way, they have more to win by gaining the points. Because I could see a potential season where TSM don't get top 2. For Shopify, for me, that's so hard to imagine just because of their track record against these teams, right? They would have to lose to teams that they effectively never lose to, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think the players are cocky. I don't think they're like, oh, this season's in the bag as always, right? So, but I would agree with you. This series is a bit more relaxed overall in terms of pressure, and that favored TSM this time around. But both teams definitely came to play. I do think Shopify were a little bit more experimental, though, overall with their strategies that they ran. Yeah, good for TSM though. Great showing for their new team. That was a question mark. Now there's not so much question mark anymore. So very nice. Finally, SA. We nailed the predictions here, Shannon. We said Beast Coast and EG.
Wow.
Which are the top 2.
Incredible.
Shocker.
Not
EG
in that order,
actually
though.
did lose the series to Beast Coast 2-0.
Yeah.
I would have picked EG for that individual series, but Beast Coast had their number and do get first place. Relegated teams are Ravens and Infamous.
Something about Beast Coast in general that they just feel really good as an underdog, you know? Because you have like this all-star lineup of EG, and they're supposed to win, but Beast Coast still ends up being first. We'll see how it goes on land, though. On home turf, so to speak.
It feels like whenever it's about winning something in SA, Beast Coast just always finds a way, right?
Yeah.
If it's a relegation, or sorry, not relegation, if it's like a tiebreaker, they will always win the tiebreaker. If it's a high-stakes game, this one arguably isn't really a high-stakes game. So I feel like that's a bit different than what we usually see. But whenever they're facing tough opposition in a game that there's stakes in, they just get it
the games
done.
are relatively, like, it was 2-0 for Beast Coast, but first game was 42 minutes, second game was 60 minutes.
It was not easy, but they won. So, remaining arguably the kings of SA for now. But yeah, we will see what happens at the major. Obviously, a totally different beast when you face international competition. I still personally think on paper EG is the best team in this region from just raw player strength, but that's not everything. It's also about how you implement things on a team level and your strategy. So, but yeah, that wraps it up for DPC, except China, which we will be able to conclude next week on the next episode.
Yep.
If you're curious and want the information earlier than that, it should be finalized tomorrow, unless there's tiebreakers, which is likely, but in that case, it should be finalized on the 5th at the latest, I think. All right.
Next topic. There was a few Reddit threads, in fact, talking about some potential leaked upcoming items. This is a bit fluff since we obviously don't know anything, but you know, these things are always fun to talk about. So I'm just going to name the items. Most of them are like code name, but you have the recipe for the samurai I don't know, TABI. What?
Tabi.
What does that word mean? Is that English? Dictionary.com.
It is a type of socks.
Really?
Either it's a type of socks or it's a type of sandals. It's something to do with
covering for the foot similar to a sock, having a separate pouch-like stall for the large toe, worn especially in Japan, often with Zoris, which does not have a definition. Okay. That'll cost 1,200 gold, Cinderin. Then we also have the Samurai Tabi. That's not the recipe. The total cost is 46.50.
Then it's Tabi.
Tabi, the Ogre Magi Tabi.
Okay, good.
We have the Hermes sandals, 4,800 gold. We have the Witch's Switch.
Oh my god! Please don't call it that. Like, find another name. Imagine casters saying this.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? That's fun to say.
The Witch's Switch.
Witch's Switch. Yeah, it's like you're saying which is which. Witch's Switch is 1,900 gold.
Great.
Valve, if you're listening to this, just take my advice on one thing and ignore Cinder. Keep that name. It's fucking great, actually.
Witch's Switch.
Witch's Switch. Witch's Switch. It's actually really easy to say. Say it 5 times fast.
Yeah, it's kind of easy. It just doesn't. Okay, whatever. Move on.
You can say it doesn't roll. It rolls off the tongue amazingly. Witch's Switch. Which it's fun to say. Everybody's gonna love this item because of the name. Lunar Crest is 2,600 gold. I wonder if that is an upgrade of the medallion, like a different version of the Solar Crest or something. We'll talk about this.
That is what it would sound like.
We have the phylactery. Okay, gonna have to look up this word as well real quick. Hopefully you don't know the definition to make me sound like a moron. I
definitely know what a phylactery is. It's the type of urn that you put people's ashes in when they die.
It's an urn. Okay.
And I know that because in Warcraft 3, there's a mission. There's one of the games, or one of the what's it called? One of the levels in Warcraft 3, you need to transport Kel'Thuzad's phylactery.
Okay, I don't see urn on here as the definition, actually. So there's 3 definitions. One is related to Judaism. It's either of 2 small black leather cubes containing a piece of parchment inscribed with verses, blah, 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 blah. The second is from a Christian church, a receptacle containing a holy relic. And the third is an amulet, charm, or safeguard against harm or danger, which I will assume is what they're referring to, unless they want to get ultra religious.
But
yes,
then there is also the definition in Dungeons and Dragons, which I personally think is the real definition.
Okay, sure.
We both know that that's what this is all about.
Okay.
Phylactery in Dungeons and Dragons is an object used to store a monster's soul to protect it from death. As introduced by Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game and now ubiquitous, there we go, within fantasy fiction.
Yes.
A phylactery is a vessel created through an arcane ritual to bind the soul of a powerful wizard or dragon from traveling to the outer planes after its death. A humanoid who undergoes this ritual is called a lich. A dragon is called a Draco Lich. There you go.
There's a Draco
That's why Kel'Thuzad is a lich, because he made a phylactery for himself.
Okay. You want me to, cool. Would you like me to embarrass myself real quick? I probably told you this already.
Always.
When I was playing Warcraft 3 as a young lad, I always assumed, and well, even after I found out this wasn't true, I still continued to do it. I kept calling Lich a her because it looks like, I mean, he's wearing a dress, basically.
Okay.
Even though I would call it, yep, her name is the Lich King. I'd literally say stuff like that. The Lich King is... I don't know what's wrong with me.
I mean, that's some woke 2023 Warcraft 3, though. Her name is the Lich King. That's right on.
That's right.
Very
that's
good.
What she identifies
as. That's some
as.
good representation. I can appreciate that.
We also have the Disperser is 4,600 gold, and the Harpoon, which they only show the recipe cost of 1,400.
Yep.
Do any of these tickle your fancy, Cinder, with just the names and recipe cost?
So do you want to theorize if these go into the game what they are?
Okay.
So the Samurai Tabi cost 4,650. The recipe is 1,200. This is a type of boots upgrade, but which boots do you upgrade with it? I think Tabi would be a phase boots upgrade. Okay.
Well, Tranquil already has an upgrade. Treads does not. Phase boots does not. Boots of Travel technically does. What am I missing? Any types of boots?
No.
I think that the Samurai Tabi will be a phase boots upgrade. I agree, but it will be an armor related. There was an item in Han called I think it was called Greaves, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I don't remember. But it was essentially armor boots, and you activate it, and it's like a buckler, kind of, where you're giving your allies armor.
Okay, so the reason I don't think that's the case is that it's called Samurai Tabi, right? So what most people would think... Yeah, that sounds more like something that you would activate to deal more damage, or to give you evasion or something, right?
Evasion.
But who knows? It could be anything. I think Hermes Sandals will be a Tranquil Boots upgrade. It just makes sense. Like, Hermes is kind of a support, right?
Okay, I take it back.
He's a god delivering mail.
No. We fucked it up. We fucked it up.
Okay. All right.
Hermes sandals. He's known for speed. That's a phase boots upgrade for sure.
Tranquil boots are fast too.
For sure. No, but Tranquils already have an upgrade.
That's true, but
so Samurai Tabai, as I will continue to pronounce it as, will be the treads upgrade.
Okay, but hear me out. What if they just remove bongo boots and this will be the new Tranquil boot?
No, bongo
upgrade?
boots are great. Samurai Tabai will be an upgrade with Saint Jasha somehow.
And treads.
It'll be the trident treads. You consolidate all
that sounds like a really broken item.
You consolidate Sange, Kaya, and Yasha and treads, and then you can swap which ones you want.
Okay.
Which I actually do think that that's cool if you use S and Y and K, and you can swap between which one you're using of the three. And if that's attributed to your boots as part of treads, that does sound kind of cool, actually. So you're not getting the trident. You're getting still only 2, right? But you can toggle.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That sounds pretty bonkers. Okay.
It's cool.
Next, the Witch's Switch. I think this will be an upgrade from Soul Ring. And it's going to, instead of only transferring health into mana, it's also going to trade damage into Spell Amp.
Okay, I think
it's a switch for witches, right? So
I think it will be an upgrade for the Shadow Amulet, and you'll gain double gold while invisible. You like that one, don't you? So when you go AFK...
the thing is, when it comes to predicting Dota, I feel like you might be closer than I am, because some of the items that get introduced in this game are so fucking weird in the start. So, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, very good.
I will almost guarantee you that is 100% wrong, though. That would be hilarious.
Griefers unite.
Yeah.
Lunar Crest. I think it could be a medallion. It could be like what kind of a different medallion could you make? Lunar Crest.
So the thing that's tricky about this is that the current one already has an offensive and a defensive use. So you can't just be like, oh, it's the current one, but for your team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, considering the current one, dude, nobody ever buys this item. What is it exactly that it even does now? I want to not say this wrong with the numbers. So it gives the active gives the target 50 attack speed or minus 50 attack speed, and 10 move speed or minus 10 percent. Sorry, 10% move speed or minus 10% move speed, and plus 6 armor or minus 6 armor. So maybe the Lunar Crest gives... So if this one modifies armor, attack speed, and move speed, the Lunar Crest might impact your Spell Amp, positive and negative, and regen?
All right, I'm just going to say, I have no idea, obviously. I think this, in part, this won't be the main component, but it will have night vision as part of the item.
Yeah.
That is my prediction. Night vision as a cheap item.
That's a good prediction. That is
Thank you.
A lot better than your Invis double gold prediction. There's a higher chance this is correct.
All right,
Phylactery.
I fucking no clue. So it's
probably safe to say it's an upgrade from Urn or Vessel, right? I think it's going to be an upgrade to Urn. I think they'll remove Vessel from the game.
You keep calling it an urn. I mean, the picture is kind of an urn that they show.
It's just in lore, in fantasy lore, a phylactery is an urn. It just is. So even if your pictures
I'm gonna go
from
with
real life phylacteries are different.
I'm going to go dictionary.com's definition on this one and say it's an amulet of some kind.
An amulet? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an urn upgrade. And so the only reason I'm saying they'll remove Vessel is not because I think it's a bad item for the game or bad design. It's just because, okay, if you're making a phylactery, what else are you making it from? Right? So if this item gets put in the game, I think it replaces Vessel, and there will be some other way of doing healing reduction from range. Don't know. But that's my bold prediction here, is that it will replace Vessel.
Okay. I have no prediction for this one because I can't think of anything. And the
Now,
last
what
one,
does the disperser do?
oh, I missed the disperser. Yeah, 4,600 gold. So pretty expensive.
Yeah. The recipe
Disperser.
says it's 600, so that means the base item is 4K. So dispersion from Spectre deflects damage. I think this is going to be an upgraded blade mail.
Ooh, how much is blade mail?
Where instead of just reflecting onto the target, I think you reflect damage onto an AoE around yourself. And where blade mail reflects the damage, I think this one will deflect it, so you will also not take part of the damage. So let's say blade mail reflects 100%. I think the disperser will deflect 20 and reflect 80
How
for
much? Okay,
a period of time.
How much is a blade mail and how much is a vanguard?
Of what?
How much gold?
That's actually a good question.
If you combine them,
boot up Dota.
Plus the 600 recipe, is it 4,000 gold? I feel like it's slightly more.
It's more, I think.
How much more?
But obviously the prices might be changed, right? Let me check. I'm booting up Dota right now. I think it's faster than Googling the price. Really? I don't remember them by heart.
You think going to Dota 2 Wiki is slower than opening up Dota?
Yeah, because then you also need to find the items there. In Dota, I know exactly where they are.
Okay.
It's being very slow to boot though. Right, there we go.
Wow, what a shock. What a fucking shock.
All right, so Vanguard is 1825 and Blade Mail is 2100. That is 3975.
All right, so
3925.
And we needed it to be 4,000.
Yeah, I mean maybe one of the items get increased price, right? Maybe Vanguard gets more expensive.
Okay, Vanguard, we figured it out, guys. It's close enough. Vanguard and Blade Mail. That sounds like a cool item.
This sounds very possible that that's what it is, actually. And then I think how it's going to work is similar to Blade Mail, where when you activate it, I think the deflection will not be passive. I think the deflection will be active, because otherwise it's way overpowered. Because think of how good dispersion is as a skill, right? Imagine you get that passively on any hero. I think it'll become an activatable, like Blade Mail is, and then for 5 seconds you deflect part of the damage you take. And then passively it will still maybe have the Blade Mail component of reflecting some damage whenever you get hit, but not deflecting.
So if you're playing Centaur, you activate this and you double edge. Your double edge will do more damage to units around you.
Possibly, if that's how it was made, yeah. I don't know if it would work on self-damage, though. But
it should. Valve, if you're watching, I feel like if they were watching this, they would actively make sure that things that I think are cool will not get in the game. But just in case,
if you're watching, listen to Shannon. Witch's Switch, double gold when invis.
Witch's Switch. Implement. Well, it's more a Centaur feels good. Disperser should definitely work on self-damage. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Vanguard, Blade Mail, Centaur. Yeah, I'm in. I'm into that. All right, and the last one is a harpoon, which they don't have the full cost. It's just the recipe cost of 1,400, I believe.
Somebody was able to demo that in the game, though, right? Unless that was a fake post. I saw that one.
Oh wait, somebody else posted in there saying 4,400 gold for harpoon. I don't know if that includes the recipe though.
Let me check. Recipe 1,400. There's no more full item, but I guess the reason I don't know how you would deduct that. Like maybe in demo mode, somebody created the item, because I saw a clip of somebody creating harpoon in demo mode, and maybe they were able to sell it. And then you can obviously, if you can see the sell price, then you can figure out what it would cost fully, right? But the clip that I saw was effectively a mini pudge hook where you would target, and then you would pull the target like 300 or 400 range toward yourself with this.
Is it a single target or is it a
I don't remember if it was single target or ground target. I feel like it would be ground target.
So everybody gets a hook. Baby hook.
I think the plan with this item, if that is what it's going to be implemented as, is kind of an anti-force staff, right? It's an offensive force staff where the enemy doesn't need to face you. But yeah, I don't know if it's ground target or targeted. I don't.
Where they don't have to face you.
Yes.
Because there's that neutral item. Forget what it's called.
That Psychic Headband.
Yeah.
That's where you push them away from yourself no matter which way they're facing, and this one will pull them towards you no matter which way you're facing. Yeah, pretty interesting if that's what it is. I mean, I feel like if you have an item called Harpoon, it is one where you throw a spear at someone and you pull them towards you, right? It just makes sense. Then the question is if the version that we saw in that clip is real or the final or not. But yeah.
And there was a couple other, I mean, again, a lot of this stuff might not get into the game anyway, but Iron Talon and Ironwood Tree were seen in the code as well.
Yeah, true.
Would you want any of these back?
Depending on what version we get them in. I think, okay, bold prediction here. I think Valve regrets removing jungling.
Oh.
And
why?
It's because I think, so a lot of the people, I would assume, right? A lot of the people that are like beta testers or have to do with the development of the game have obviously played this game for a really long time. And I think what they feel is that some of the creativity and flexibility of the game has been removed because effectively full jungling is not really a strategy anymore. And almost every game is 2-1-2 lanes, right?
Yeah.
I think they want to try to push the game to allow people to be more sandboxy with their approaches. So playing jungle from level 1 or playing tri-lanes better. I personally think the game should try to go in that direction. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, Sind, I fucking hate you. Remember when everyone was jungling Jugger? And I do remember that. But do I think it's inherently bad to be able to jungle? No. Are griefers going to do that? Yes. Is that better than ruining your lane? Probably also yes, because they might actually be impactful later in the game then. So
can I say something? Am I the only one that misses level 1 jungling?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a shame that you can't do it anymore.
Now I know why a lot of people hate it. I understand, but I think a lot of people, I could be wrong. I think a lot of people that do not watch this show, a lot of the casual people have the same feeling as me, where the laning stage is by far the most boring part of the game. If you can just AFK in the fucking jungle, that means one less person is supporting another lane. That's great. That means only one person has to be miserable, and that's the position 5. That's the way I look at the game.
Okay, so this is what's funny about it, right? With what you just said. If people don't want to play 5, if the norm in a lot of games, I'm not going to say this will happen to every bracket, but let's just say a lot of games will have people fighting over carry. This way, both players get to play carry. Because one of them gets to play carry in the jungle, and the other one gets to play carry in the lane. And by extension, people will want to play carry less because it starts becoming a harder lane because you're playing it alone. And then people are going to miss supports, and it becomes this cycle where, oh man, I really wish I had a support again. I guess I was toxic.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's wishful thinking.
I was going to say that's never going to happen.
Yeah. So no, but I don't know. So obviously we just see Iron Talon. The first thing we think is jungling, right? That doesn't mean you can afford it level 1. Like maybe this item will cost 1,500 gold, so you can't start in the jungle. But maybe it becomes like a viable strategy that you can go jungle earlier. Maybe you can start by that way incentivizing people to play more support because it's nicer to go jungle as carry. And the supports get to have more of a game, you know, whatever it is. But more than anything, I just want more variety in the games. I feel like right now the meta is very defined. I know there's some pro teams that will once in a while throw a tri-lane for a couple of minutes, but you never really get these 10-minute tri-lanes that we used to have. You never have a full-on jungler. So definitely over time, the game has been streamlined a little bit. And I think they should, and I think they will try to step away from that. Because Dota doesn't want... I think for me, that's one of the biggest fundamental differences between Dota and League, is that League is trying to streamline the gameplay, and Dota really doesn't want that. So if they recognize that that is what's happening historically speaking, they've generally just mixed things up, right? Whenever the meta gets stale or one playstyle is the prevalent one, they're like, do this other thing, try something new.
So after you explained it, I understand your standpoint, but if you had asked me what I thought that you thought about jungling, I'd be pretty convinced you were going to say you'd never want it back again. No, but the variety, I mean, you wouldn't want it back in the same form because everybody doing every single game, which that if it's even reasonably, let's just say on average, it's actually slightly worse than laning.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody will level 1 jungle in the pubs, right?
Yeah,
so
and
do
then
you want that?
there's no less variety in everybody jungling than nobody jungling, right? So
True.
if that's the worst case scenario, then effectively you diversify the game by using the jungle as a resource in the first 10 minutes instead of it being pull and stack and nothing else.
Yeah.
So I think inherently that just by itself makes the game more diverse because the placement of heroes on the map will be different, and the way you gank, the way you move is different. Because now suddenly there's a guy in the jungle you can gank, or that you can block his camps, or whatever it is. There's more variety.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the edge case where you say there's a jungler every game. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a jungler sometimes, and that's great if that's possible. We'll see.
Well, I think in casual pubs it'll be more often, most likely.
For sure.
I think the one thing I don't miss is level 1 Legion, specifically. The one thing I do miss is level 1 Axe. I fucking love jungling with Axe. So much fun, actually. Yeah. Okay, so that does it for our complete fluff piece here. Next topic was written by you.
Yeah, so, this is kind of in connection, right? So, when do we think the patch gets released? How big do we think it is? And do we think this patch that comes out next, usually when these, so the reason people have started data mining, etc., is that there was an update to the Steam database of Dota. And usually when that happens, it means that active works are happening on the patch and it's closing in on release. So the question is, when do we think it comes out? And do we think this patch will have Muerta, or will that be in the next one?
Muerta.
Because that one said early 2023, right?
Yep.
Which by Valve standards is anything up and until probably March 31st.
Well, true Valve standards, it means by December.
Early, you could argue that early is anything before the halfway point. So it could also be June 29th. But I just have a hunch for this one that it's in Q1. I feel like that's what this one's going to be.
I agree.
Now, last time we talked about patch, I think both of us agreed that we thought the patch was going to be dropped after the major, and they would use the major to hype up and release Muerta, right?
Yes.
Do we still think that with this dump? Okay, so you still think the patch is a month away?
The major's in 3 weeks. I'm just so confused. I could be wrong. I've been wrong many a time before, but people seem to be very convinced that a patch is coming imminently. I think
this is dropping next week.
Okay, what kind of a patch are we talking about? Like a big terrain change? Like there's before the major, after everyone's qualified? Have they ever done that before?
There has in the past been plenty of examples of major patches like 3 weeks before a big tournament.
Yeah, but how big are we talking? If it's terrain changes, I think there's no way.
That has happened before, I think.
Really? You're saying 3 weeks before a major, they've changed the map?
Yes.
I'm going to need sources.
Changed maps, changed heroes, introduced new items, deleted items. It has happened before. I'm not going to say it's the most common thing. It isn't, but
so
I think a lot of pros will like it.
I would love for this to happen. I think based on my memory, which apparently doesn't go back past 2 years, that this is just not going to happen until after the major. Okay. But I would absolutely, obviously love for it to come out ASAP.
If this patch comes out in the next week, let's say that's my prediction is that it comes out next week. Okay. I do not think it will have Muerta, because I think they will announce that at the major, even if they drop a patch. I don't think this will be a part of it if it comes out next week. How big it's going to be, I think there will be new items. I think a lot of these hints or data mine stuff will be put in the game. I don't think all of it necessarily will. I think Valve are going to realize Witch's Switch sounds stupid, and they're not going to put that in the game. But some of the other ideas actually sound very Ice Froggy to me, so could definitely happen.
I feel like if there's a big patch, it's going to have Muerta. Like if you're talking about some like balance patch that changes a few little things here and there, just all small little details, or whatever, yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, but do you think Muerta is finished?
Yes. I would hope so. Okay, I'm going to say this again. These heroes... Got to calm myself down. Heroes do not take this long to make. They are difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it again. I know what this sounds like. We made heroes in our custom game, our previous one, Pog. I'm not saying they're Valve standard. but they're not that far off. Let's say they're 50%, which I think is generous for Valve.
Okay.
50% of a Valve hero. With people working part-time, it took like a few weeks. And you have, for Valve, you have much more resources. You have more talented people. You have people that can work simultaneously, as opposed to us, which is kind of like working off top of each other's work. Like the thing that takes the longest is modeling and animation. It does not take a fucking year to make a hero. So
of course not, because you know how many heroes they pushed out in the first 3 years of the game.
Yeah, well, those were, to be fair, those were a little rough around the edges. Now that we look back, right? We're talking about the super high standard that they're hitting now.
Yeah, but let's say back when they released a new hero, let's say when Dota 2 came out, it felt like 1 or 2 heroes were pushed every month, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
well, and a lot of them were like partially done, probably like at TI1, right?
Yeah, that's true. But still, like the amount of heroes that they pushed within the first few months or the first year of the game being in existence.
We're not even including like the concept stage, because I assume that they have thousands of concepts that they just go to and like, okay, so these are just ready to go for a long time. So if I had to guess how long it would, if they wanted to start a hero now and like full time it would take them 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks more of testing. Like the testing is the most time consuming part to make sure there's no bugs.
So you think start to finish 1 month?
Yes, easily.
Okay. I mean, I think
for a triple A company,
focus,
I would hope so. I would fucking hope so. But, you know, we don't know how many people are on the Valve team, and we don't know, you know, obviously they're working on a bunch of other stuff at the same time. So,
yeah.
I'm just saying, if they wanted to do it, yes, they could do it in a month easily.
So I guess, are we kind of streamlined in how big we expect this patch to be, whether it drops before or after the major? I think it will have item changes, map changes, economy changes, and balance changes. I think it will have everything that we're used to from big patches. That's my prediction. And without the new hero. And you think it will have the new hero and then be after the patch, but aside from that, or after the major, but aside from that, we agree what we think? Or,
yes.
Okay, so we both think this is a big deal. Nice. That's exciting. I've wanted a big patch for a very long time.
I think if they come out with a small patch, people are going to riot or something, because like people have been complaining for the past like 5-6 patches, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, we want blood. We want something new.
Speaking of patches and something new, Ability Arena 4.5 came out today, or technically yesterday, Cinderin. We have, so seasons are 2 months long, and when it's in the beginning of the second month, which we're at now, is the 0.5, which means it's spell-oriented. We have added 15 spells in and taken out 15. I'll actually put the graphic on the screen. So we have added Berserker's Rage, Arcane Bolt, Rolling Thunder, Swashbuckle, Starbreaker, Spirit Link, Ice Path, Doom, God Strength, Burning Spears, Battery Assault, Crippling Fear, Cursed Crown, Snowball, and Berserker's Rage. I was going to say Dark Willow's W, or E. Yeah, E.
Cursed Crown.
So yeah, a lot of new spells with some really fucking insane Gapens that we will probably need to nerf.
Please tell me the Gaben Doom is not AoE Doom.
It is. It's.
Oh my god, that sounds broken for that game.
Believe it or not, it might be the weakest spell that we added.
Okay.
Not kidding. People were kind of underwhelmed by it.
Okay.
I can give you guys a couple examples. We're not going to spend too long on this for like the Gabens that are in the game. What are the more interesting ones? A lot of them were like talents or shards or whatever. Like Spirit Link, I think is cool. We replaced Feral Impulse with Spirit Link pretty much. So you get like the shared attack speed and armor and lifesteal of summons on that hero that has Spirit Link. And then the Gaben gives you level 2 true form. So that's 1,000 HP that you get. And that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Snowball is fucking awesome. You can take your entire team in a snowball to the back line, which is a lot of fun. Obviously, you can get killed that way. The super gives anybody coming out of the snowball 60 attack speed for 2 seconds. And the Gaben, when your snowball finishes, each time you cast, a fuck. What's the Q from Tusk called? Ice shards.
Ice shards.
The shard ice shards, aka the bigger one with the damage over time, gets cast on all the sides of the map. 8 of them. The entire map is full of ice shards. It's awesome.
All right.
Ice Path, the Gaben. Every time you cast Ice Path, you get a level 2 macro pyre. The macro pyre does not go away when Ice Path goes away. It's very good.
Yes, that sounds very good.
God Strength, which is probably the most OP one, if I'm being honest. The Gaben, every 500 damage you do while you have God Strength activated, will send out a Storm Bolt on a 3-second cooldown. We did internal beta testing, and it had 0 cooldown, and it was the most broken thing ever, as you might imagine.
Yes.
And
okay.
Cursed Crown, the Gaben. So anybody that gets stunned by Cursed Crown will have a Bedlam circle them, which I thought that one's really fucking cool. A lot of these actually have similar themes. So Crippling Fear, the Gaben, it's kind of like Night Stalker Ags. So every 4 seconds passively, the Void will cast in a 550 AoE around you.
Okay.
And
that all sounds really good.
I mean, we added one of your favorite Clockwork things, Battery Assault. So that one's less. I mean, it's really good, but we didn't make anything up. It's the 25 talent, so the minus 0.25 second interval for the super, and then the Gaben is 275 radius, and it hits everybody. So that's the overclock.
Sounds like the best skill to take before round 1 most of the time.
Yeah, it could be. It's definitely very good
in Dota.
Yeah. So yeah, that is patch 4.5. We added the AK-47 finisher finally, Cinder, so you can shoot people in game.
Okay.
And the CS win streak, so you can throw grenades and stuff. It's great.
Okay.
Oh, and final thing. By next week, the Dota Tooltips extension that Book and I made will work with Ability Arena.
Oh.
So it'll just automatically work with the extension that all the streamers have. So the way that it's going to work is... Actually, I'll just show the screenshot on screen. It's not going to... It's hard to make the tooltips work in a way that... I'm going to cover your face because I don't want to cover Manscaped. Sorry about that.
That's understandable.
Like, it's hard to make custom games work with the hovering of the skills for obvious reasons. So instead, it's going to be kind of like a wiki. So this top right, I think right now it shows spells and gods, but it's going to be the Ability Arena logo. You click it and you can check out all the spells and all the gods easily. So that is going to be nice. That's very soon. Okay. Next on the list, we have an interesting conversation. It's about deepfake, Cinderin.
Okay.
Which you know a little bit about because you sent me something. So this is actually going to be a pretty serious conversation, but we're going to start with the lighthearted, funny version and then get to the serious stuff that's been going on, if you guys haven't heard. So deepfake, for you guys that don't know, is... Well, why don't you explain what you did or what Susie did?
Yeah, so...
And I can play it on stream, too.
Deepfake comes in various forms, right? Yeah, just play the sound first, actually. Play that first.
Okay, I'm going to play a sound on stream now. Dear Lakers, as a 37-year-old nerd from Phoenix, my love for you runs deep. From Showtime to LeBron, you have always been my favorite team. You hold a special place in my heart, and I'll cheer for you through every win and loss. Love and admiration from Shannon. Okay, I need to know from chat, how close does that sound to me? How close? Out of 10, 10 being exactly the same, 1 being not remotely close. I'm at you. Because obviously to me, I can tell the difference, or I think I can at least. Okay, a lot of people saying 7, 8, 7. Somebody said 9. Okay, so pretty accurate.
It's pretty close. I mean, I would agree. I can tell it's not you, but we also talk a lot. If it's somebody that has heard you speak once or twice before, or maybe seen a clip with you,
yeah,
I think a lot of people would think this is really you.
Yeah.
So the way this worked was that Susie just found I guess she found this on Reddit because she reads a billion different subreddits, but there's this, what's it called? I guess it's a parser effectively. You give it a minute of input of somebody talking, and then it trains itself based on that voice, and then you can tell it to write anything you want, and it will read it in their voice. So she found, I think she used about a minute of our podcast where you're talking. She just clipped together parts where I say nothing and it's only you. And then we just wrote it a prompt with the Lakers, and that's what it made. And as far as I know, you can train it with more than a minute. So obviously, the more data you give it, the better it will get. So if we gave it maybe like an hour of an episode, maybe it could, do a better job than that. So this is obviously funny, but as with a lot of technology that we talk about on this podcast that's AI related, it's also kind of dangerous, right? So yeah, we've talked about deep fakes, I think, in the past on some episodes some while ago with faces, where it's like you can deep fake people's faces onto things so that it will look like it's really them doing something, or you can deep fake voices now, as you can tell here, which the potential of this technology is worrying because it will be even harder to like critically check whether something actually happened, right, with a person or with an act. But for uses like this, it's just, it's funny. It's like you send a clip to someone where it's them saying something they would never say, and you're like, lol, isn't that funny?
Yeah,
but
before we get to the bad part, what are I never really thought about it because it is funny in certain scenarios like this one. What's is there any actual like major benefit of something like this?
Of deepfakes?
Yeah. I was thinking about it. It's like nothing really comes to mind that's like, oh, this is going to be really good for this. Like I can see some fringe things like if you lost a loved one and recreating, I mean, even I would be kind of weirded out by that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I
feel like that's unhealthy too. I feel like loss is a part of life, right? And that is something that's going to happen. And I feel like it's not going to be mentally healthy to deepfake dead people back to life.
I mean, that sounds like a Black Mirror episode I watched.
It really does, doesn't it? I don't know, man. I'm kind of with you. I think out of all of the tech that we've talked about on the podcast, this is the one for me that is inherently mostly negative.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. Because, like you said, there's just not...
Okay, so...
I don't know, are we missing something obvious?
I'm reading some of the chat. So the best thing I've read so far is artificial voice acting. So kind of like if you use the DALL-E or whatever, these AI generated art, the same but for voices. But it's not okay. I don't think that's technically what we're talking about though, because you can make it sound like a voice, but making it sound like a specific person's voice, what's the benefit? Not the benefit. What's the good thing about that? Because it's going to end up being a negative thing. Like you're taking a famous actor's voice and using it for something that they're obviously not a part of, right? That's a negative.
I guess if they give permission, right?
Then they don't have to do it.
If you're going to use a voice actor's voice and the demand for Morgan Freeman is so big that it cannot be met, but now you can just buy his voice and he can sign off on it, and then you can use his voice for a royalty fee.
So sheer laziness is the benefit.
I mean, it's like, otherwise, why wouldn't you hire the voice actor?
Right.
Right? Like, if you want to use their voice for your product or your ad or whatever, and they say no, you can't just be like, oh, okay, we'll just deepfake it, because then they're going to fucking sue you, right? Like, at the end of the day, you still need permission, right? But I guess it's a bit of a gray area to an extent, because if it's a deepfake and it's very, very close to the real Morgan Freeman, does he actually own that voice then or not, right?
Yeah, that's another gray. I mean, it feels like the AI stuff is...
That just sounds like another negative to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of gray area overall. So the reason we're getting into this more serious discussion is I'm not going to name any of the streamers' names. I literally don't remember any of them anyway, because I don't watch normal streamers, only Dota, for the most part.
Yeah, we're definitely
not normal. The Dota streamers are fucked up, let me tell you. But the TLDR is that certain female streamers found themselves on a porn site. By the way, I had no idea this fucking exists. This blows my fucking mind. There's several porn sites, I'm sure many, that have deep fake porn with famous people's faces on the bodies of the women and some men. And I did some research, of course, Cinderin, and I looked it up.
Yes.
With Nikki next to me, by the way, so it wasn't like super. I mean, that sounds pretty creepy as well.
So then it wasn't weird.
It wasn't weird at all.
Okay.
I mean, you can tell they're fake, but it's fucking impressive still. Like, really impressive.
The technology is already pretty far.
And so there's a big drama about it because I guess I mean, I don't want to get into the details, but it's just about the concept of this. And I mean, it's fucked up that somebody can take your face and put it on something that has nothing to do with you, and then other people can see it. I mean, I can see why the women in that industry feel very used. And somehow there's like a debate with certain men that feel like, oh, I wouldn't care if I was on there. Well, it's not the same. And first of all, you would care. You would care. But it's still not the same for men and women, I feel like. That's kind of the big drama in the streaming scene right now.
So the thing that's I don't know how to say this, but like effectively, if you take someone's face and you put them in a situation that they're not in, the problem here is that women or men, in whichever case it is, that are being associated with porn, even if it's obvious that it's not actually them there, but it's just a fantasy for people watching it, if they don't want to be associated with it at all, they have no control over it. They have no power, right? They can't just be like, it's just AI generated, right? That's what we talked about, this gray area where, well, from a legal perspective, is this actually a problem? Because it's not really you, we just made a copy or a version that clearly isn't actually you, but it's pretty close. So the people that are looking for that can see or experience what it is that they want. But then at the same time, it's like, obviously they're the direct inspiration and it's mimicking them. So if they don't want to be associated with this thing, then that's not okay, right? I think that's what's tricky about this thing, right? Because I don't know. I'm assuming that people that watch this deepfake porn or find it don't actually think that it's the person and thinks any differently of them, right? It's not like, oh, I found this porn with this person in it, and now I think it was actually them in it. Like, people probably understand the concept of what's going on, so I
think you give people too much credit, Cinderin, on that one.
But that's one thing. Let's imagine we give people credit like that. But what if it's extremely believable? Because it's getting to that point where eventually you might basically not be able to tell the difference.
Okay, right? I'm going to say this right now. Based on my very brief research of this site, I'm calling it research, of course. There was a video with two actresses, okay? Famous actresses. One of them, I was like, okay, that obviously, like, you can see the blurred face. The other one was fucking, if I didn't know it was a deep fake,
literally,
I thought it was, literally. I thought it looks just like her. It's actually exactly like her. But imagine people that aren't tech savvy at all. So let's put ourselves in the women's perspective here. Their parents see this video. They don't know anything about technology. That's really beyond fucked up, right? So this is the dangerous part of AI, where it's technically a gray area because it's so weird, the technology, right? It's just, there's so many things that it can do that we're just not prepared for as a society, I feel like. And I think this specific instance, which apparently has been going on for years, I didn't even know this was an underground fucking porn thing, but it's getting more and more believable. So I think the problems are only going to increase going forward. So, like, even if you go to the voice thing, you could have had me say the N-word 20 times.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to get to a point where you literally cannot distinguish that voice and me. So how do you prove that wasn't me?
I mean, it's funny because my mind went there when Susie showed me that clip that she generated with your voice. I was like, this is going to be used in American politics for smear campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
they're literally just going to make it look like the political opposition said something fucked up, but it was just AI. And it's like, that sounds very fucking illegal, but again, maybe you could just make like a little subtext or a little asterisk that this was just an AI, blah blah. It's just for show, like. I mean, I'm obviously putting it on edge, right? But it is kind of Black Mirror-esque. But so that's the voice part, right? To get back to the whole porn or video thing, the problem that I see here is that how do you regulate this? That's kind of the issue, right? If you're using people's likeness, usually the way it works in any industry with entertainment is that people pay to use your likeness. If we're working a Dota event, we sign a contract, and that contract means that the tournament organizer gets to use our likeness for the product. That means they get to use the camera footage of us on screen. It means they get to announce us as talent to generate excitement for the event. It means that they own the rights to our voices during that event because they have to do that. Otherwise, we can just be like, no, we don't want you guys to use our voice. So that's the legal side of that. With this, you're not using the person, like, their work at all, really. You're generating something that looks exactly like them by scraping stuff they have done in the past, but they are not involved in any sense except their likeness, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's just this really awkward gray area where I'm just trying to wrap my head around how do you write laws about this? Like, where do you draw the line? What's okay? Obviously, pornographic material is kind of one of the extremes, right? You could make softer cases. You could even make worse cases. I think porn isn't even necessarily the worst way this could be used, right? Like you said, you could ruin people's careers with making them say really obscene shit that could just change the entire public perception of them, where maybe in porn people would be...
Well, that's the other part of it is you've kind of touched on it a bit, like even like you talked about in politics where it's going to get really scary, is the fact that it's desensitizing people, right?
Yes.
So you have all this shit, like even if you know it's fake, you're still being desensitized because then when somebody says something real, you're like, there's no way that's real. Like if you look at Donald Trump as an example, not to get political, but he's no longer president, so technically not political anymore. He said some of the most egregious shit, and so many people were like, that's not a big deal. He didn't say that or whatever. To the point where he could probably like literally killed somebody on live TV and people would still defend him. Like the desensitizing that's occurring, not just in the US, but across the world is fucking insane. And a lot of it has to do with the internet, which I fucking live on, right? We live, breathe, and shit the internet. But this is the scary part of the internet.
Yes.
Because a lot of these effects you don't really notice initially. And after many years, it's just ingrained in you. And, it's not something you can really control very well. So it's really fucking weird, man. Really weird.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, because like, so I actually saw a very different take on this with the whole, like, people getting deep faked into porn. Some people were like, I feel like this is not like to justify it, but it's just to look at the positive perspective of something like this, is that people that have like OnlyFans, for example, or are selling that experience to their fans of seeing them in very limited clothing or even naked photos or whatever, that they could use this to fulfill that fantasy in their audience, that they could literally sell porn that they didn't record, right? So for that audience and for those creators, sure, it's a positive that is an avenue that they now have.
So laziness again enters the fray.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't call that laziness. It's just like, I'm too lazy to do porn. I feel like, that's... I think there's something to be said about maybe you're not comfortable with the idea. You're in a relationship with someone or that whole thing, but you still think the whole fantasy aspect of it for your fans is okay. Like, I could see that angle for some people that would do that in the creator sphere, but again, it's kind of like you're grasping at straws for the positives, right? That's what I'm seeing. Like, I mean, I could agree with that. If you're okay with it, if it's something you want, if it's something your fans like and you sell that, sure, why not? Like, power to you. But the trade-off, like, it's going to be used way more in a negative way, I feel like. And I don't know, because, like, obviously, like you said, there's there's a lot of this stuff already. There hasn't really been much public focus on this at all from the actors and actresses that have been pictured in this way. I think, again, perhaps you kind of turn a blind eye because, yeah, you might know it's happening, but clearly it's not real, right? And at that point, it's like, maybe you feel uncomfortable with it, but you're not like, okay, this isn't going to change the public perception of me because the people that watch these videos or find this stuff know that it isn't really me and it's a fantasy. And maybe you still feel that's kind of pretty fucking weird, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it's not really me. People have their fantasies. There's a lot of weird fetishes and things that go around that people think of. But again, the gray area is, first of all, that you're not being in any way compensated or communicated with about it, that they're just using your likeness without consent. And the other one is it's becoming scarily real, where maybe this technology 5 years ago, some of the AI shit has moved fast. Like, stuff that looked very unbelievable or ridiculous 5 years ago is starting to be real now.
Even though it's not directly related, but like ChatGPT, which we talked about, is growing even more. It's insane, the stuff that people are doing with it. And I know Google is terrified that it's going to overtake their entire business. Google website, like the engine itself, search engine, can literally be replaced by AI. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, this is just a kind of a long line of like sensationalism that's been occurring the last 20 years. Everything is getting more and more ridiculous. Even our fucking podcast titles have to be clickbait, for God's sake. Like, literally,
that's a very soft version.
It feels like, well, I know, but everything on the internet, it feels like it's always an extreme now. There's one side, there's the other, there's no in between, and it's really unhealthy, you know? So that's the thing. I don't know what to do about it. And I know from the US perspective, like, people that actually have power to change things, aka congressmen, they're all fucking old piles of garbage that don't even know what a fucking computer is. I remember when they were interviewing, or they had, what's his face? The Facebook guy? The fuck's his name?
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, Zuckerberg, the robot. Like, when that whole drama shit with, I forget what it was called, went down a few years ago. Just listening to some of the interviews that the senators were giving, like, I cannot believe that he got off so easy and they had no idea what was going on. They would ask the stupidest fucking questions. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
So I guess what I'm curious about, you just said you have no idea what to do. What do you think is the right angle on something like deepfakes in general from a legal perspective? Like, do you just ban the technology altogether to avoid the negatives? Or is there a way of moderating this?
How do you ban something like that?
I don't know. Like, if a service is provided that does deepfakes, it gets taken down. Right? Like, you make it literally illegal to offer this service to people.
Oh, gambling was illegal in many states. It still is. Still happens.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, I know that is the case, but making something illegal inherently will, limit its spread. Like, so for example, let's say ChatGPT, right? There's like millions of users right now. If you make using those chatbots illegal and you take it down, sure, some people will find a way and will find it underground or whatever, but it's not going to be millions, right? You're mitigating the problem at the very least.
True.
So you're limiting the spread and the reach.
Based on our limited conversation and the fact that we have a very hard time thinking of the positives that can come out of this, I would say yes, that it should be illegal on some level. Like, that's the thing. Like, it can't be a black and white thing, right? You can't just ban AI. But like, deepfake, when it comes to like porn, for sure, should be illegal, I think. And impersonating somebody without their consent in general, maybe, is a better blanket law. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference, but who knows?
I mean, I'm with you. I think if you do make this illegal, it will still exist. But I think just like lots of other things in life, right? Like, things that are strictly illegal become more valuable to the few that then get them, right? Like hard drugs or whatever, like copyrighted material that is really hard to get your hands on or whatever, something rare, art, gets extremely valuable because of its limited access to it, and that obviously lends itself to criminal problems. But I think the trade-off is probably worth it compared to the dangers of having it be widespread. And then, yeah, some people, there will be some sort of underground industry around it, probably. But I don't know. I feel like it's a difficult topic, right? Because when it comes to, like, for example, a lot of people, when it comes to marijuana and weed, just weed, right? Like, most people, or a lot of people, I'm not going to say most without knowing this for a fact, but a lot of people want it to be fully legalized, right? Because having it be criminalized has had its problems for sure. But I think a lot of people would agree that harder drugs should still be illegal, but not weed, right?
Probably most people think that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like it's inherently good to just legalize stuff and expect people to handle it themselves. And if stuff is criminalized, then it's bad because it's going to become very valuable and that's going to start issues. Sometimes that is the lesser evil. And I think that's one of these cases here where that is probably the lesser evil, given the reach that this is starting to get.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I don't think anything's going to change until somebody, maybe they already have done this. Actually, I saw a title in this site about Ted Cruz fucking a goat or something. So until one of these videos catches on and these senators and these like leaders of the world see them and are disgusted and appalled by them, nothing's going to change until that point. When that happens, then at the flip of a switch, something's going to change drastically, I'm sure. But again, like I said, things have been so sensationalized that I don't know if that even changes anything anymore. Like, they've said such ridiculous shit to each other, politicians in general. It's like, what's the tipping point then? Like, you have to keep going farther and farther. And it's like, how? Like, there's nowhere else to go. You've already said the most ridiculous shit in the world. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Let's end with this talk about the ads, which I know that we talked about how I switched to a new service for our podcast audio. And I said, I think last week, that hopefully the ads are working. They have not been. And I tasked you to look into it because I'm sick of doing everything, Cinder. So thank you for doing this for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always nice to be like, hey, let me know if I can do anything, and then be told no for 200 episodes, and then be hung out to dry when you actually help. That's nice. I appreciate it.
That one guy is going to think we're fighting against Cinder. Keep it down. All right, keep it safe.
Yeah, so basically the TLDR, guys, we figured out what was missing in order to get the ads. I don't know if it's going to be implemented when this episode goes live, but if not, it should probably be up in a day or two, or at the very least, for the next episode, it should be running. But please give us your feedback. Even if it's just, I watched your podcast, or I listened to your podcast and I got an ad. That is great feedback, because we just know that want to know that things are working the way we wanted them to. You don't have to go into specifics about what ads you're getting for deepfake porn. We don't need to know that. Just tell us that you got an ad, and that's fine.
All right, I needed that. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. And until next week, I'm sure Muerto will be out by then. We'll see you. Peace.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything.
Subscribe.
But thanks for listening.